Welcome back to this TV 20 News feature. I'm your host, Ciarra Nelson, and we're talking about workplace violence. Again, I have great guests here. Paul Meshanko, Veg Learning Ohio. He's a managing partner, and I have the Vice President here of Human Resources for Medical Mutual, Tom Green. Thanks again for being on the show. I want to dig into this a little bit more now. Now we're talking about workplace violence, how much it costs, coming up with codes of conduct, and basically doing preventative medicine before there's even a problem. But obviously there is a problem because we're trying to prevent it early before it gets worse, in a sense.
Sure.
Just talk about why this is happening. We all have an idea.
How long do we have for this segment?
But why and how much it's costing America? Because I touched on briefly at the beginning of the show. I mean, people don't come to work. They're calling off of work, lowers productivity. There's so many problems that's cost us all, in a sense, because if you're on a team in your office and someone's missing, it kind of changes things around.
Tom is much more tenured in in HR in general than I am. I'm going to let him pick up on this one.
Yeah, it's interesting. Why does it happen? Because we're people. It's for as many instances of inappropriate behavior, aggressive behavior of whatever sort, you probably find an equal number of reasons. Two people sitting together who just don't like each other. Two people who possibly are interested in similar career opportunities.
And you don't have to like each other, right? But you have to respect.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
That is exactly it. You have to respect, but when that doesn't happen, then in a sense all bets are off. You don't know how people are going to react to each other. There's competition. I mean, one of I guess in a sense, one of the facts of life in many work environments is competition. As a business, we compete against other, in our case, health insurers. But regardless, it's a competitive environment, and that tends to bring out some potentially aggressive behaviors.
I think there are some environmental factors that are probably exacerbating the situation too. And it's not just in the workplace, it's everywhere. I think of the recent debt ceiling negotiations in Congress. And, how in the heck are we supposed to expect our everyday citizens to act respectfully when our elected members of Congress are behaving so uncivilly towards each other? I mean, some of the actual words that come out of the mouths of our elected officials, to me, is startling. And I think there's significant documentation that suggests, and research that suggests, it's gotten considerably worse over the past 15, 20 years. So I think as a society, there are some things going on that are causing us to be a little bit less civil overall. Mm-hmm. And so being proactive like Medical Mutual is doubly important, because to a degree, we're surrounded by a lot of incivility. And it takes, I think, a very mature and wise organization to say, okay, let's leave that out there. When we come to work with each other, we're going to operate by a little bit of a different code. If you take the recession as one of those exacerbating factors, you mentioned people feel stressed. Well, when you have near a 10% unemployment rate, and anybody is thinking, how secure really is my job, that does create stress and tension, and even maybe some unseen competition. Everybody doesn't want to be, they're always asking themselves, am I in that lower 10%? Is my job at risk? So they become more competitive with their peers, and maybe trying to outdo each other, as an example. How we communicate, technology. You and I talking together, Tom and I talking together, our species evolved communicating face-to-face. But look at how we communicate now. How much of it is electronically with text messages and Twitter and Facebook? Yeah. So what we end up losing in all those modes of communication with each other are a couple things. Number one is focus. How many people do we know? Oh, I can multitask right now. No, you're just being rude because you're not paying attention. But when you take away nonverbal and extraverbal communication, eye contact, tone of voice, proximity. When you strip all those things out, what we end up losing is approximately 90% of the information my brain is looking for to determine the intent of your communication with me. So what I'm left with is all I have are the words. And depending on how I interpret your words and whether they're in all caps and exclamation points or whatever else, I lose 90% of the signals that you're trying to send me. So we end up misinterpreting messages from people a lot more frequently because we're missing some vital cues that our brains are looking for.
Yeah, and in some instances, I think we do this on purpose. Email I love it and I'm dying by it. And when I say that, though, what I'm finding is that people use emails and other electronic forms of communications basically to avoid looking you in the eye, avoid actually sending you the message that you don't see my body language. You do not see how irritated I am with you when I send an email. Plus, I can probably get away with saying some things in an email that I would not say to your face.
And
people
by the way,
by email and texting now.
And by the way, I'm only 3 cubicles away when I send it. So I think there's, technology is a tool, but if we allow the tool to become a surrogate for what we should be doing face to face, I think that naturally creates more stress and tension in the workplace.